Good morning, everyone. I'm your host, Suchi, and welcome to AI Minute Mondays. Our topic for today is AI in recruitment. Now, AI based tools are changing the landscape of recruitment, and this is much faster than teams can actually even deal with it. From sourcing candidates in seconds to providing screening of resumes, which are extremely accurate, these tools are providing speed and efficiency. And to help us unpack this topic, we have our expert here. We are joined by Aniket Narvanekar, who is the founder and CEO of Skillset, which is an AI-based recruitment tool. So, Aniket, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here. And for the sake of our viewers, if you can share a little bit about your background and journey, that'll be great.
Thank you for having me on here, Suchi. Excited to be here. Hey everyone, my name is Aniket, the co-founder and CEO of Skillsheet. We are a agentic operating system for talent teams. So we focus on everything from sourcing to interviewing to even identity verification. There is a decent amount of application fraud that is happening with AI and all the way down to even onboarding, help with the onboarding. We also help talent teams and organizations like recruiting agencies, even with sales, with outreach as well, and in the end, reporting and analytics. So it's basically one platform, one operating system to run the entire recruiting agency and managed services.
Thank you, Aniket, for sharing. I like how you put it as one operating system or one complete agency to do every or to solve all of your pain points. So, moving on to our topic a little bit more in detail. How do you think these AI-based recruiting tools, how can they go ahead and enhance the hiring process and help teams make better, faster, and more consistent decisions?
Yeah. So the thing that is happening with the use of AI is a lot of the grunt work that people had to do can now be automated, and that has both pros as well as cons. For recruiters, that means the ability to search and find the right candidates is a lot faster. The ability to go automate some of that outreach in a human-like way is possible now, something that wasn't available before. But the thing to be careful of is also the human aspect and keeping that intact, right? And so more of the focus can be on that human aspect, connecting with candidates and helping them understand the role, helping them see themselves in the role. So what Skillsheet helps with is our agents will do the searching for the recruiter. So instead of going on like the old school tools where you're working with Boolean variables and filters and drop downs, now you're just going in and describing in natural language what it is that you're looking for, or even just throwing a job description out there to Skillsheet, and our agent will figure out, and then another agent will help you reach out to people in a way that candidates resonate with the message and want to respond back to you. We have another AI agent that can also help with screening and video interviews as well, and similarly, identity verification as well. So all of this put together can make the recruiting process a lot more faster, where you're not spending weeks and months before you hire somebody. You can actually scrunch that time down to the order of days and short few weeks.
Oh, that's amazing. So instead of spending months getting a person on board, you're now able to do that in days or weeks, totally reducing the time frame, totally reducing the amount of human effort that's needed, but allowing humans, like you said, to focus on the more critical aspects which for which we don't need AI, which is basically the human interaction, etc.
Exactly. And the other thing that's interesting here also is not every person works on a specific communication channel. So what I mean by that is some people are more comfortable and on emails.
Hmm.
So one of the things that we do is your outreach can go over LinkedIn, or it could even go over email, or if you wanted to use WhatsApp, like that's
Hmm.
available as an option as well. So having a multi-channel strategy means that you can find the best talent wherever they live.
Amazing. So that's like bringing both the people who want to recruit the organizations to connecting them better to the actual people who are looking for jobs or looking for the right place. So that's great. But coming a little bit to the flip side, what do you think are the biggest risks when you use AI in recruiting? For example, things like bias, things like over automation,
Yeah.
even probably a lack of transparency for that matter, right? Like, how do you kind of pick out a particular resume? What's the match look like? So, if you can kind of elaborate a little bit on what are these cons and what, more importantly, how do we avoid them when we use AI for recruiting?
Yeah, you're absolutely right to bring this up, Suchi. Bias is the most obvious one, and also one of the important ones, right? So the yeah, ultimately AI is a system that reflects the collective training data that was used. So any biases that existed in that training data is eventually going to show up, and so you have to actively counteract that.
Mm,
So if you're using a another system, you have to be cognizant of the way it is analyzing through your resumes. If you build something, let's say in-house, right? So now you
mhm,
need to be cognizant of how it perceives certain terms and what gets surfaced back to you, right?
mhm,
We internally are very careful about this. There's also another one is hallucinations, where
mhm,
it AI can produce data or output that isn't there, and it's very confident when it does that,
mhm,
right? And
mhm,
so we focus a lot on citations and telling you where we got this particular result from. When we say
mhm,
that this person is a good match, like why do we say that as a good match? Is it because we found that experience in their resume, or did we find it in a conversation or some other resource or document that ties that skill with them, right? So these are, I think, very important things. One other thing I'll add is people tend to look at AI as like a black box sometimes, and you just ask it to do things and it
mm,
does something and they trust whatever it produces. I encourage people to look a little bit under the hood of why it is producing the output that it is producing, right? So
mhm,
when it is recommending something to you, is it because it latched onto one of the terms that you put in
mhm,
and it interpreted that or put too much weight into that, right? And I'll even give you one example of something that happens because of the use of AI. So if a recruiter is searching for, let's say, a full stack engineer in Bellevue, Washington,
mhm,
a lot of times there are multiple recruiters that are hiring for, let's say, the same role, because at multiple companies it's not a unique enough
yeah.
role. When you look for it, the same 20 people will show up in the top of the list every single time.
Mm,
And now 15 recruiters that are hiring for the role are reaching out to the same 25 people again and
mhm,
again and again, right?
mm,
And
mm,
so not a lot of people think about this. Bias is something that people think about.
mhm,
Hallucinations is something they think about. This other thing where, hey, you're continuously just looking at the first 1% of the list. And it's not like the others are not qualified. It's
mm,
just you're always looking at the top of the list.
yes.
So you need to vary the way that you utilize AI so
Mhm,
that it does the extra effort and finds the other 98% of really
mhm.
good qualified candidates that are basically just waiting.
Thank you. So, a lot of interesting facts that you mentioned there. You talked about being cognizant of the bias so that you can actually make sure that you eliminate the bias as far as possible. And then what you also mentioned is not kind of completely trusting it, thinking about hallucinations, but building in the traceability. right? So that you know where the content is coming from. So, and that's a very valid point because you don't want AI to kind of hallucinate and say, oh, this is an absolutely great candidate. And then you take a look at it and like, I don't think so. So, yeah. So that's very important. And having the human at the end to do the human part of it, right? I think that also helps. And the last point that you mentioned, again, it's again super critical in terms of how you build out the algorithm, what you're thinking through in terms of, the longer term perspective of not just reaching the top 2% who's getting contacted by everyone, but how do you get equally relevant resources across to the right organizations? So that's been super interesting. Thank you, Aniket, for sharing these thoughts with us. Loved having you on the show. And yeah, are there any last thoughts that you want to leave with the audience?
Yeah, so thank you very much for having me on. This was fun. I would just say, hey, I know if you're looking for a tool that will do the entire end-to-end, Skillsheet is a great option that goes the whole 9 yards, including identity verification as well, helping combat application fraud. And in addition to that, we provide both options. So if you want the tool, that is one option. We also provide outcomes. So if you are a startup and is not looking at going the full length through in-house hiring, we can help you match you with great recruiters that can help.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And we hope our audience has enjoyed this episode as well. Thanks, everyone. That's all that we have in AI Minutes today. Bye.